Welcome to Through the Bible with Pastor Michael, a podcast from First Baptist Church in Mustang, Oklahoma. Here's Pastor Michael.
All right, today we are finishing 1 Samuel as we look at chapters 29, 30, and 31. You know, with every time we finish a new book, it's significant. It's a, it's a marker along our path and journey of reading through the entire Bible in a year. And it's not easy to do. And so I just want to say a quick word of encouragement to you to continue doing what you're doing. Keep studying and keep reading. Keep being faithful. Keep making time for these disciplines. And if you have been frustrated because maybe you've gotten behind, maybe you're watching this video today and you're frustrated because there's days you had to miss, you can always go back and read what you missed. You can always go back and make up. Don't be discouraged by things you've missed. Just be encouraged to keep reading and to do your best every day to be in the Word. In just a couple of days, we're going to reach day 25 for the month of May, which is going to give us just about a full week where we don't have a new reading until June 1st. And so you've got some built-in time at the end of this month to go back and maybe catch up on things that you missed, or maybe there are portions along the way where you've kind of read a little too quickly because you were just trying to keep up. You've got about a week where you can go back and reread sections that maybe need a little bit more time. I encourage you to do that. But you're doing a great work, and you're involved in a very noble goal as we continue to read through the Bible every day, and I hope it is bearing much fruit in your own soul. 5 observations from 1 Samuel 29, 30, and 31. Number 1, the Philistines were going to battle against Israel, and the leaders of the Philistines did not trust David. He was set to join them in battle against Israel, and some other leaders saw David and heard what had been said about him, how Saul had killed his thousands, but David his 10,000s. David's reputation certainly had gone before him, and so there were some who said, we don't trust this guy, we don't want him going to battle with us, which leads to observation number 2, that Achish told David he needed to return home. And so David does that. And number 3, we see that when David returned to Ziklag, he found it had been ravaged by the Amalekites, and the women and children were taken captive, including David's 2 wives. When that happens, we see a 4th thing, and that is that David caught up to the Amalekites. They were drinking and celebrating, and David and his 400 men recovered all that had been taken. David sets out with 600 men. 200 of them are too tired to continue, so they stay back. 400 go with David. And with the help of the man that they found and fed, who had not had food or drink in 3 days, they feed them. He then takes them to where the people were, and when David gets there, they recapture what had been taken from them. And then that leads, 5thly, to the very end of 1 Samuel, where Saul was wounded by the Philistines in battle, and then he killed himself. He asked his armor bearer to do it. He wouldn't do it, and so Saul falls on his own sword. So Saul takes his own life, as does his armor bearer. And Saul's 3 sons were also killed. And the Philistines took Saul's body and hung it on a wall at Bethshan. Again, I've mentioned this before recently, but one of the amazing privileges of getting to go to Israel and to walk the land and to see the sights there are so much of what you read in the Old and New Testament just come alive to you. Instead of it just being a word on the page, you can picture it in your mind. And so I've had the chance to walk around Bethshan a couple of times, and you can see an ancient city that's been recovered. It's actually incredible how much of the old ancient city you can still see walking all around the area. It's really amazing. But when you're walking around the recovered area there of Bet Shean, as you look just over the side over here, you see the mountain where the Philistines took Saul's body and had it hanging there in shame to Saul. It tells us here in chapter 31, verse 12, all the valiant men arose and went all night and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bet Shean, and they came to Jabesh and burned them from there. So the Philistines take the body of Saul, put it there at that hill on Bet Shean until the other valiant men come and take it away. 5 applications for us as we finish reading 1 Samuel. Number 1, man's rejection can still be a tool used by God. David was prepared to go to battle, and he was rejected in chapter 29. And though rejected by men, it wasn't the end of his life. It wasn't the end of his ministry. The Lord still had great plans for him. And so let me just encourage you with this application today that being rejected by the world or even being rejected by people in no way should make you think that the Lord is finished with you, or in no way make you think that that's even a setback. It's just part of God's plan. God is using it for your good. God is growing you. God is preparing you. All those things that we know really are true. So don't be too discouraged when you are rejected by somebody or turned down for something. Even if you think, I would have loved to have had that, I would have been good at that. Just understand, God has a plan. God has a purpose. And that purpose may very well include the rejection of man as he prepares you for what he has in store for you. Number 2, battles always await, and we must be ready. We see this over and over and over again here in 1 Samuel. There's a battle, and whatever the results are, shortly after that, here comes another battle. And win or lose, here comes another battle. And you get the spoils back, here comes another battle. That's really a metaphor for life. Our life just has one battle after the other, and we just have to be prepared for that. We have to be ready. Spiritually speaking, we're soldiers, and we're always in a battle. We're always needing to be ready for whatever the Lord has for us. I just want to encourage you spiritually to be ready, to live your life as a soldier, on guard, on the alert, ready to do all that God calls you to do. It won't be easy, and our rest is not this side of heaven. Our rest is then. And so as good soldiers, we entrust ourselves to our sovereign, and we give of ourselves, whatever the cost may be. We'll find our rest on the other side. A third application, generosity is fitting for God's people. When David and his 400 men get the spoils back, they don't want to share, the 400 don't want to share with the 200 who didn't go. And David says, no, we're not going to do that. The Lord's given this to us, and we're going to be generous. Generosity is befitting God's people. Generosity is something that should be true of us. I just want to encourage you to look for ways to express generosity in small ways. I'm not talking about just an extravagant gift at Christmas time or an extravagant gift when someone's expecting it. Look for ways to cultivate generosity in your own heart. When you're at a restaurant, be unusually generous with your waiter or waitress. When someone is having a bad day at the store and you're there shopping, be unusually kind and encouraging to the worker who is struggling. When you see someone with small children at church, be unusually gracious and helpful. If they've got little children that maybe are struggling to get to church or struggling during the service, share a word of encouragement to them. See what you can do to help them. Just look for ways to cultivate generosity. Generosity should be a part of believers' lives. It should be what we're known for. And so just look for normal, routine, mundane, regular ways in your life to cultivate generosity. And if somebody asks you why you're so generous or why you're so kind or why you're so patient, be quick to say a word of honoring Christ. Just let people know Christ was generous to you. It's your desire to pass that on to others. Christ was gracious to you, and so how could we as Christians be anything less? Just look for normal, regular ways to be kind, to be generous, to be gracious, and let people know that this is just our response to the extravagant love and grace that Christ has already poured out upon us. A fourth application: appearances can be deceiving, and faithfulness is what matters most. When Saul started out, he was, a head taller than everybody else. He was handsome. He was a natural looking leader for the people. And here he is at the end of his life, having chased and pursued David needlessly, living with paranoia, living with anger and envy and jealousy, and now at the end of his life, taking his own life, falling on his own sword in battle. He appeared to have everything you would want, but the reality is his faithfulness and obedience was lacking. And so we want to be people who focus not on the appearance, but on being faithful. And then a final application: warriors and leaders are flesh and eventually will fall. All warriors, all leaders, no matter how strong or gifted, eventually they will fall. All leaders, in the end, lose their strength, lose their power, which is why our hope must be in the Lord and no one else. And then finally, a quick summary from Proverbs 29, 1 to 14. Restraint and self-control is better than venting your every frustration. Proverbs 29, let me read this verse to you. This is a great, great verse for our world today. Verse 11, a fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. You don't need to run to Facebook or Twitter every time you're upset with somebody. You don't need to vent your every emotion. You don't need to tell the world every time you're upset or disappointed or somebody let you down. The scripture says it's a fool who gives full vent to his feelings. We instead live with self-control. Someone upsets you, don't go looking for your phone to post about it. Seek reconciliation. If someone hurts you, don't go looking for your computer to make something public about it. Pray for that person. Seek restoration with them. Pray for their good. So often what we tend to do in our world today is every thought, every emotion, every feeling, every attitude, we feel like we just got to broadcast it for the whole world to see. Instead of that, have self-control. Spend time in prayer, not posting. Spend time seeking forgiveness and restoration and grace and healing, not public slander. I think the word from Proverbs 29 today is as timely as any word can be. Hope that will be an encouragement for all of us today to live according to the place of wisdom. Well, we have finished another book together as we have made it through 1 Samuel. And then tomorrow we'll meet back together as we read the New Testament book of Philippians. We'll get through that in just one day. And so this time tomorrow, we'll have not only finished 1 Samuel together, we'll have finished an entire New Testament book of Philippians, and then we'll jump back into 2 Samuel. So keep reading and keep studying and keep pressing on in the goal you have set this year.